It's 7:30. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Welcome. Hi, everyone. Stephanie Wiseman here, Artistic Director and founder of the Marsh. And this is our third week of MarshStream. Can you believe it? Actually, it's my fourth one already. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. I hope you're all doing well. I'm so thrilled that we have Robert Townsend today. But first, let me tell you what's coming up at the MarshStream this week. So we have tonight, you're all here. Tomorrow night, we have bingo with Josh Kornbluth. That is really something. Have you ever imagined playing bingo with a red diaper baby, doing the bingo thingy dingy? And then before that at noon, we have CJ's Fitness Sing. So if you want to do fitness and a singing lesson at the same time, do it tomorrow at noon. On Saturday and Sunday, we have Wayne Harris will be performing live the May Day Parade. We're going to have it live at 4:30 at Saturday, rebroadcast at 7:30 on Saturday, and Sunday at 2, and we'll be having Q&As and just amazing. Then we have the Monday Night Marsh, and then next Tuesday, listen to this, sound healing and restorative yoga. So you just turn your Zoom on, listen to Ward Spangler, who's an amazing musician, and Valerie Ju will be doing yoga postures, restorative yoga postures. And then on Wednesday, we have solo arts healing. So anyway, enough of all that. Although I will remind you about our tip jar. Please feel free to tip us because this is so important to us. No ticket sales. About 70% of our income is ticket sales. So anyone wants to do a tip in our tip jar, no donation too small, no donation too large. And now let's get to what's really important. Hello, Robert Townsend. So good to see you.
Oh, thank you so much. Good seeing you as well. Bravo. And just thank you again for everything you're doing, because the theater, these are crazy times. And for you to reach out and have this streaming, is amazing, because this is a time we really need entertainment. There's so much negative stuff going on and the world is going upside down. And I just applaud you.
Well, thank you, Robert. It's been quite the journey. We've got shows on 7 days a week.
Wow.
5 days with youth programs, and now we're filling out our noon slots. So it's been quite compressed, trying to start our own HBO at the Marsh.
Well, if there's somebody that can do it, it's you, and you're doing it amazing. No, because I saw you when you did the Don with Don, and I was like, I called Don and said, I want to be on there too, man. I want to do it. Yeah. And so thank you for having me.
Don's always bringing it to us. First you see him perform, and the next thing you know, maybe some years later, you're performing at the Marsh too. So.
Well, let me say this. I had an amazing time performing at the Marsh. It was started in November, December, then I came back in February, and it all started because of Don Reed. I saw Don Reed do East 14th, and he really inspired me. I write, I direct, I produce, but I hadn't been on stage. And he really motivated me. And then when I was trying to find a home, because when you're doing a one-man show, you're up there, you're very vulnerable. You're just out there by yourself. And he was the one that said, come to the Marsh. And I just had the best time. So before we even get started, I got to say thanks.
Well, thank you, because we had the best time with you being here too. So thank you, or being there or here, whatever it is. Who knows right now? Where are we? But tell me, you're a writer, you're a director, you're a producer, you're an actor. How did your journey begin?
Well, my journey started in Chicago. There was a book that Malcolm Gladwell wrote called The Outliers. And it's all about, how he had a theory that you've got to do 10,000 hours. And after those 10,000 hours, you will be doing what your career is supposed to be. As a kid, all I did was watch television because I lived in a really rough neighborhood. And, you're taking an 8-year-old kid that just loves television and everything about TV. So that really was the start of Robert Townsend, because though I was watching these television shows and movies, I was really studying them. And that's where I think I was really born. And then I found theater when I was like 14 years old. So my journey started when I was a kid. And, back then, like I said in the show, they called me TV Guide. So I was all things television. And now that's my life every day, all things television and movies. So it's just, my hours started there.
Wow, wow. And I don't think I properly introduced you, actually. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows how great you are and all the things you've done, but like Hollywood Shuffle, right? You've done Meteor Man. You've done
Yes.
the Five Heartbeats documentary. You were the director of Raw, Eddie Murphy's Raw, and isn't like that the highest solo performance? What is that called? The highest one-man show person sold ever in the universe?
It was the highest grossing stand-up concert film ever. Richard Pryor had the mark before, and then Raw, since that time, has topped it. Nobody else has topped it. Working with Eddie Murphy, you can't go wrong. The man is a comedy genius. So, I've just been, really blessed to create everything that I've created. I didn't go to film school. It's like kind of self-taught. So Hollywood Shuffle was my very first movie. We shot it in 12 days, over 2.5 years. And I became part legend in Hollywood because I financed the film when I ran out of money. I had $60,000, and when I ran out of money, I used credit cards, and it was the credit card story that the film was really, the film came out really good, but the story about how I made the film became kind of an inspiring story. Like the Wall Street Journal, did articles and business magazines to say, this guy is a filmmaker, but he took an entrepreneurial approach.
Wow. What a career, and it's still growing. I hear there's some other things happening all the time, right, for you?
Well, speaking of this Tuesday coming up, one of the episodes that I directed, as a matter of fact, of the last OG, Tracy Morgan's show, is going to be on next Tuesday. It's on TBS, and I just had the best time. It's an all-star cast. John Amos from Good Times and all the movies and television shows is a guest star. Cat Williams, who is one of the funniest men, in Hollywood, he's in it. And JB Smoove, who's on Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David. So it's a real all-star cast that, I directed, and I think the show is really good. But this Tuesday, I know where everybody is, so please turn on your TVs and check it out.
What time?
It is, I want to say it's 10:30 Pacific Standard Time.
Oh, so it's at 7:30 in New York, 10:30 here.
No, New York is later, so it's 10:30.
7:30 here, 10:30 there?
No, 10:30 here. It's a late. It's late because it's adult language, so he's on at 10:30.
Okay.
So it's like 12:30 there, but I think it runs differently in New York.
Well, I'm really relieved because I'm going to have to be doing my restorative yoga at 7:30, so I'll be able to see it now. Thank goodness, thank goodness. So anyway, why was it important for you to do your first one-man show? Living this
Well, like I said, Don, and I was inspired by Don, but there's so many stories that, my journey as an artist that I wanted to share. My childhood, growing up in a rough neighborhood and kind of trying to figure out life and wanting to be an artist, and then an artist of color in Hollywood and the limitation of roles. all these stories kept coming to me about, wow, that's funny. And I would tell it to my crew or tell it to my friends. And then it wasn't until I saw Don that I said, wait a minute, I could do this on stage, and let me figure out a way to tell these stories. And that kind of was the start of what became Living the Shuffle that I performed up there.
Well, so you must have this amazing creative process. So like to prepare the show and everything you do. So like, tell us, what do you do? Do you do it on a legal pad? Do you do it on an iPad? Do you do it in a igloo? You know, how does it happen?
You know, well, one, it's always a legal pad. I got my legal pads here. So I write on legal pads, and I don't know, you know, the stories are all true stories. So I just take time to slow my brain down to really remember all the stories. And then part of the process, when I write, I listen to jazz. So I have Thelonious Monk on Pandora, and I love the piano. So I'm between Oscar Peterson, Thelonious Monk, Cyrus Chestnut, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and I listen to music with no words in it, and then I start to write. I write on a legal pad. I start writing first thing in the morning, so I can't watch television. I can't be on social media. I have to have a full breakfast, coffee, everything, and I clear my head, and then I start to write. And I will write from 8 in the morning until about 2. Until about one, and then my brain is kind of like mush. And then throughout the day, I'll sit and watch television, and then other ideas will come into my brain. But I got to have a clear head. I have a hearty breakfast, and I listen to my jazz.
So do you listen to your jazz while you're writing?
Yes, yes.
Wow, amazing, amazing.
And when I get into really writing, it takes me over, and I'll start doing my characters. So then there's points that I start writing the character. The old man speaks like this, and then I will. So I was talking to Stephanie. On Zoom. Where's it, Zoom? And I'll get into my characters, and I'll just, start going, and I'll make notes, and I'll start doing what I call a character bio to really get into why the character does what the character does.
When you do your voices like that, do you ever have one voice and another voice and talk back and forth like in dialogue?
Yeah. I mean, I it's so funny. When I go into character, I can stay in character for a very long time. And I'll walk around the house and do my fake French accent all day. What are you? Je te lève papa. Je te lève mon père. I will do that. I'm just trying to find a rhythm. So as an artist, I will just continue to play and play and play.
Well, do you have like a pet, a dog or a cat or anything?
No,
so
just my kids.
So they don't like you don't know what the dog would do while you're doing these characters, right? So you don't get any barks or yips back.
I was doing my imaginary dog in the show. And, because I can do sounds and all of that, because when I was a kid, we didn't have a dog. So the thing is that when I do my dog in my house, the dogs in the neighborhood start barking because they think it's a real dog. And I don't know what I'm saying in dog language.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I'm talking about their mothers. I don't know what's going on, but I go, and 10 dogs in the neighborhood will start barking.
Well, okay. So when you're writing this, when you're sitting there listening to jazz, writing, doing your characters, like, do you get scared? Do you get happy? Do you get elated? What happens?
You know what? I love creating. I get very, very happy. I love, it's like when I was doing the show up there, I got to tell you, I had the best time at the Marsh. I had the best time. And part of that is that there, like I direct a lot, I produce a lot, I'm an actor, but a one-man show experience is like none other. that is the highest, I don't know, that's the highest level to me. And every night, the audience was different. I never knew what to expect.
Why do you think it's the highest level? What makes it the highest level for you?
Because you're out there without a net. You don't have a safety net. When I'm in that theater, and Ray, who was doing the lights and everything, Ray would go, half an hour, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, places. And then I go downstairs, the audience, I can hear them humming and buzzing and all of that. And then you hit the stage and let the magic happen. And that was, it's a high, it's a rush, it's a high. And Don and I would talk about it. It's kind of like, I don't surf, but it's kind of like what it must feel like to ride a wave. And you want to get the perfect wave and you just want to ride it. And so there were certain nights that I was in that theater. Oh, I love that theater. I mean, it was just freaking amazing. Because there's nights that you ride the wave really smooth, and then nights the wave crashes. And so it is the most amazing experience. And as an artist, when an audience is following along with the symphony that you're trying to play, and if they can follow that symphony and they get the notes with you, oh man, I'm so high when the show is over with, off that reaction, I can't go to sleep. I won't go to bed until like 2 a.m. on nights that I have those shows. The nights that I have the really, shows that, have a different energy and the whole symphony doesn't play, I go right to bed. Please let me do another show tomorrow. Please, another show. Another one.
Did you learn things about yourself when you were doing these shows? Like, what did,
what I would say is that when you're doing a one-man show that's very personal about your life, there's certain moments that you start to really relive your life. And it's kind of crazy. You're like really, I'm really seeing my childhood teacher. I'm really seeing, friends in my life. I do that story that I talk about where I ran into a gang initiation. On one night, I did that scene and I really saw the gang. I really saw the gang, and I saw the street corner. I smelled the street corner. So I think that sometimes when you're performing, you get lost in the show. And there were times that I got really lost in the show.
When you get lost in it, do you lose your place, or what happens then?
Those are the shows where I can't remember what I did. Those are the shows that I go, I don't even know what I did. And then the audience, I've been blessed to get standing ovations. And I'm kind of like, wow, they are really getting the show, but I didn't know what I did that night. I get so caught up. It's kind of like, it's muscle memory, it's muscle memory. That's what my son calls it in sports, where, you're running and you catch the ball because it's muscle memory. You've done it so many times in practice. So for me, when I am performing and I really get lost in the characters, the show just goes like that. And then I get off stage and then, somebody says, man, what a performance. And I go, I don't even know what I did. And I will have those moments because you genuinely get lost in performing. Because when audiences, I think it's a beautiful moment when everybody is together in that theater and they're sharing that same wonderful experience. And I feel it, they feel it, and you hit all these wonderful notes. And like I said, oh man, but there's nights that, when the audience, because sometimes I've had audiences where there's audience that laugh really hard, like, oh my God, that was funny, that was funny, that was funny. And then you have audiences that kind of just watch. They're still enjoying themselves, but they kind of watch. And initially, until Don pulled me to the side and says, hey, Rob, sometimes they just enjoy the show. Everybody, like as a stand-up comedian, I'm used to a sound of laughter. And Don says, there'll be certain nights the audience will just be enjoying you. They'll be like, this guy, he's got a, wow, that's an interesting take. Oh, I didn't see that coming. And they go, And then there's certain nights people go like, ah. And when you look at, I like to see people, like there was this woman one time, she was just rocking back and forth, laughing at the stuff. And I would see her, in the third row, and I would just go like, oh my God. and it just kind of makes you, makes you want to do more. But yeah, there's nights the material takes over, but I think also my show has a lot of emotion in it, and there's certain nights that, like when I do the chunk about having a divorce, going through my divorce, and there was one night that I just wanted to break down and cry. Because I was so into the piece. I saw my kids, I saw signing the divorce papers, I saw mistakes, and it was just like, wow. But then after that show, I had more people come up and go, man, I went through a divorce too, man. And the way you shared that, I saw my life. And, what you did tonight really made me want to talk to my kids and really think, because blah, blah, blah. Because I think real art has a healing process. I think, people come into a show and they want to escape, but I think the really great shows, the best shows I've seen on Broadway, they take you on an adventure and they make you look at your life because there's universal themes in that show.
Yeah, I think that really said it well, Robert. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
So for this show, you got some really glowing reviews. Let me read some of them. From the San Francisco Chronicle, they called it a gorgeous testament. Living the Shuffle transcends. Broadway World called it startling, fascinating, inspirational. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see it eventually land on Broadway for a lengthy run. Wouldn't that be great? So, do you read your reviews when they come out? How do you deal with your reviews? What do you think of them? Talk to us about those kind of moments.
I hadn't gotten reviewed in years because I haven't done a play. My movies get reviewed, my TV shows get reviewed, but Robert Townsend solo performer, I had never gotten reviews. And I just remember, saying that, one, I didn't want to know when the critics came because, just as I'm sensitive as an artist. So I didn't want to know and go like, it's the guy over there in the green jacket. He's the one, and it's like, am I going to do a show for him? Am I going to perform? I've learned over the years to not really care about the reviews, but then there's a side of me that's a kid that does care. It's like, did they like it? So there's that side of me that really does care. So one part of me was like, I have not been on stage in years, and I'm a natural performer, I feel, and I am going to give this show my all. And so whatever happens, happens. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And the thing that I would say, as the reviews came in and they were glowing, it really made me feel good. But then they had notes in there of how to improve the show that I really loved a lot, because they were like, hey, Townsend could use a little editing here. Hey, that could be a little bit better. He needed to go deeper there and he didn't go as deep. And so as I was looking at it, because one critic that came, it was on Twitter, and I sent her an email, and I said thank you, because she was like, there was a few things that she said really negative, and you want to have a thick skin when you're doing a show, but then I was like, I take a step back and I go, is there some truth in this, Robert? Think about it, what she's saying. I go, she did that. You know what? I could work on that. And I was so happy that the review was just one of my first reviews. I was like, thank you so much. Even though you think the show sucks a little bit here and there, I still appreciate you. I will work on the suckitude. But I felt, I got to tell you, I love Berkeley. I am not going to lie. I love Berkeley because there is such a cool artistic vibe. Just walking down the street, going to the theater. I mean, I had many breakfasts at Venus, and then I had breakfasts, I went to all the different places up and down that way, and just the best time. But the reviews, like the San Francisco Chronicle, I just wanted that man jumping out of the seat, and I got it. That was one of the highlights for me, because anytime when I've been up there, when I see that little man jumping in the seat, I was like, if I could get one of those. And when I got that, I was like, wow. And I'm going to blow it up, in and frame it, but right now I can't because I can't leave the house. But that's one that I want to do when I can leave. When I can leave.
You don't, they just had an article about MarshStream in Broadway World, and like maybe it was something else. They keep sending me these things where they're going to put it in a frame. You haven't gotten any of those notices about that?
No, I haven't.
Leave the house.
I haven't left the house, but that's the one that I really want to hang up and frame, because as an artist, over the years when I've seen shows, like, who I was a groupie for, back in the day, who had a one-man show in San Francisco, Dick Shawn, the actor, comedian Dick Shawn, had a one-man show called The Second Greatest Entertainer in the World. And it was absolutely brilliant. And I saw that show. He did a thing at the end of the show, and this is a true story. He had a thing at the end of the show. He goes, "I know the meaning of life. I know the meaning of life. The meaning of life is," and then he has a heart attack and he dies on stage, and that's how the show ends. And they put newspapers on him, and then we all go home, and the show just ended like that. Like, we laughed and we go like, wow, and then we left. That's how he died on stage in real life. He was performing in San Diego, and he does the routine, and people are laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And he falls out, and nobody rushes to him. And, somebody says, and then eventually somebody says, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And then there's a doctor, and he goes, "He's having a heart attack." And it was like the saddest thing, but that was how he ended his show. And it really happened in a theater in San Diego.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Life follows art. What's that thing they say? Ooh. Woo. Because I'm going to say I'll have a heart attack all the time. Geez, hope I'm not setting up my life. But,
No.
But I mean, you gotta love that about theater is like, is that why you love theater so much? Is, what goes into that for you?
I was just in New York, and, before all this broke out, and I went and saw, like 10 Broadway shows. And I just love theater. And what it is that theater takes you on a journey. It takes you on, like I saw the hottest show on Broadway, Slave Play. I saw A Soldier Story. I saw Come From Away, Soldiers. It's like when the writing is there, when the acting is there, and all the elements come together, we're not sitting in the theater, we're transported to wherever they want us to go. And there's something magical about watching it live, because it's never the same. So for me, I will always go to New York and get my fix. And like I said, I'll spend a weekend or a week and see like 12 shows, and just go to 2 matinees and matinee show, and I don't know. I just, there's something about live theater that I've always loved.
So when you were performing at the Marsh, okay, let's go back to the Marsh. Was there one night in particular that you really remember?
One night in particular. You know what? It was? There was a night when I was first starting to perform the show that there was a smaller crowd, because the word was just spreading that I was doing the show up here. And I think it might have been the 4th or 5th show. And it was a small crowd, and I was still just getting my legs, like, just as a performer. And I set an intention this one night, and I said, because Lydia, my producing partner, Lydia told me this story about James Earl Jones. And she said James Earl Jones was doing a one-man show about Paul Robeson. And he was doing a one-man show about Paul Robeson, and there was a snowstorm in New York City. And she says she goes to the theater. She says, "This James," she had a ticket, and she says, "I'm still going to go see him." And she trudges through this big blizzard snowstorm in New York City, and she gets to the theater, and there's only 14, 15 people in the theater. and they say the show is still going on. And she said, James Earl Jones performed that show like it was packed with thousands of people in that theater. And he performed that, I will go over there, and Old Man River, there's a time that I know. And I said to my father, and he does the whole show and they gave him a standing ovation, not because he did it for 14 people, because he had the discipline to still give 1,000%. So that night I had that small audience. I was upstairs and I looked down, and there's a part like, as artists, we go like, man, it ain't packed tonight. And I was like, no, I'm going to think like James Earl Jones. I am going to give this audience 1,001% from me. And I was like, you see a bunch of empty seats. And that night I dug so deep into my heart and soul as an artist like never before. And I just remember when the show was over with, they gave me this big applause and standing ovation. And there was a part of me that felt satisfied as an artist because I really committed in my mind and set an intention to give them my all. Like sometimes they say, leave it all out there on the playing field, leave it all out there. And that night I said, no, I'm going to dig in really deep. And I think that was one of the most magical nights that I had there. I mean, I had a lot of great shows, but that night it forced me to dig in deeper.
Do you think someone who's in an ensemble versus a solo show has that opportunity? If it's just you on the stage performing to a smaller audience or something like that, do you think people who are in like a bigger cast would ever have that feeling? Or do you think that might be a little particular to the solo show genre?
I think no. I think if you're in a play, not a solo show, I think you can still have that experience. I think the only difference is when you're the only person on stage, you better be interesting. And even if you're having an off night or a slow night or a different kind of night, the audience still paid to see a show. So you gotta show up. It's one thing where you can pass the ball to another actor or actress, or there's an ensemble, and then you get to catch your breath. With a one-man show, you're on a high wire for 90 minutes. I mean, once they go, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Townsend, you're on that high wire. So, and there's something, I don't know, it's exciting. It's scary, it's nerve-wracking, it's an adrenaline rush like none other, and you want to ride that wave. And like I said, I loved every moment of it.
So right now you're promoting your documentary about your film, The 5 Heartbeats. Why did you want to do a documentary about this film?
For those that don't know The 5 Heartbeats, The 5 Heartbeats is a movie about a singing group, kind of like the Temptations. And the film has become like a bona fide American classic. On social media, over 300 million clips have been shared worldwide. And so everywhere I go, people really love The 5 Heartbeats. And so people ask me all the time, would you do a sequel? Would you, And I couldn't figure out a way to do a sequel, but the stories that happened while we were making The 5 Heartbeats, I thought were really, really amazing and interesting. And I said, well, I think these stories could make a documentary. I think they could be really inspiring for young filmmakers. And me, I go, I'll do it. And then I started to make the documentary. The documentary has been really, really successful. We got nominated for an NAACP Image Award. Now we're on, Apple and iTunes and all the different platforms. And just last week, Ava DuVernay reached out. So she was like, I want to tell people about the documentary because this is the journey for filmmakers. And then Lena Waide, who is a really talented, writer, director, producer, actress. I did a discussion with her. And what's beautiful is that when you have your peers go, this is a great piece of work and other filmmakers should really watch it, it's been really beautiful because, for me, I'm just an artist that comes up with ideas and wants to share. And then the documentary has just come out really amazing. And so we just launched on the UMC streaming service, but then it's like everywhere. But it's something I'm really proud of. It's kind of like when people ask me, like, how do you, like, I've created a lot of movies, directing Halle Berry in Baps, Holiday Heart with Alfre Woodard, who got nominated for a Golden Globe. I've worked with a lot of people, and so sometimes I don't really share my creative process. And so this documentary is kind of like an up close and personal masterclass with Robert Townsend on how he really creates.
Wow. Wow. So was there one story that inspired you more than other stories to make this documentary?
Okay, I'll tell you one story. I had finished the documentary, and the documentary, I had finished the movie, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I'm in this cafe by myself, and I'm trying to, as a celebrity, you want your private, quiet time sometimes. And so I was at a little cafe, and I was just trying to be quiet, and I was just thinking about life and what I wanted to do. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy, this street brother, and he's kind of looking at me, and I knew he recognized me, but I was trying to still stay, kind of quiet and private. And so I kept my eyes down, and I'm just kind of eating my food. And so eventually I look up and he catches my eye, and I go like, oh man. And then he comes over and goes, Robert Townsend, man, I love you, Robert Townsend. I love your movies, Robert Townsend. And he just kept, and the restaurant people are looking, and this guy like, man, I love all your movies, all your television shows, Robert Townsend. And he goes, you know what your best movie is? Your best movie, Robert Townsend? 5 Heartbeats. And he says, you know why? He says, when I went and saw that movie, nobody was in the movie theater but me. He says, and when I started to watch the movie, there's that scene with the lead singer that got shot and got kicked out of the group. And then I thought he was dead, but then he got cleaned up. And then I saw that God had worked in his life. And that's the day I got off of heroin. That's the day I became a drug counselor. Watching that movie, Robert Townsend, you kind of on the low saved my life, Robert Townsend. So that's why I'm really excited to meet you today. We've been showing that movie to a bunch of people, man, because you saved that character. It's saving a lot of people, Robert Townsend. Keep your head up, Robert Townsend. And then he walked away. And I was like, wow, that movie changed that man's life. And so with social media, I get all kinds of stories that come in about how that movie, the themes of the film of forgiveness and family and togetherness have changed a lot of people's lives. So, that's one of the stories in the documentary.
Wow. That really hits deep. Are there some movies that really hit you deep from the past, the present? What are some of your favorite movies, Mr. Townsend?
My favorite movies. Well, my favorite director is Elia Kazan, and his body of work really inspires me. Elia Kazan did On the Waterfront, East of Eden, A Face in the Crowd, which is about what we're doing right now in this country and, and politics and all of that. I also would add, the Godfathers on the top of my list. I'm a kid, so The Wizard of Oz, recently, oh man, I loved 1917. The film by Sam Mendes was just amazing. So I have very unique tastes in movies. I mean, some stuff. But it just depends. I like action movies. Like I think Taken was a really great action movie that's up there with Die Hard. So I like different movies for different reasons. I'm big on music. There was a movie that came out with Judi Dench called Philomena that I just loved. So I'm also a Billy Wilder fan, Some Like It Hot, The Apartment. I'm kind of like film historian because I love all those old movies. You know, grew up on Humphrey Bogart. You know, Burt Lancaster. You know, so it's the movies that I like and I watch. It's all different kind of stuff. Like right now, I binge watch Ozark, which I think is a well written, well directed, well produced show. So it's just different things that speak to me. Fleabag is another one that I think is a really great comedy, and the lead actress who created it is just wonderful. And she came out of the theater.
So, like, we know that when you were a child, you thought about theater and TV and all that stuff, right? But did you imagine back then that you might be a director? How did that all come to be?
No, I just wanted to be an actor. I never thought anything about being a director at all. You know, it wasn't until I found myself in a stereotypical box in Hollywood. You know, all the roles I was auditioning for were, you know, pimps and drug dealers and runaway slaves and just you know, just a lot of stereotypes. And it was in that moment, rather than complain, I decided to do something about it. I said, you know what, I'm going to make my own movies. And that's when, you know, I started, you know, to create what would be Hollywood Shuffle. I didn't go to film school, never directed anything. That was the first thing I ever directed, but I kind of understood because I had been an actor and I had done a lot of extra work. And so I kind of slowly learned and studied and figured it out. And but directing came out of a need because you know, sometimes people complain and go, man, they treat us really bad. Man, look how these actors are being treated. Man, these roles are horrible, man, so and so and so and so. And I'm like, I ain't gonna stand here and sit here and complain. Let's make a movie. And Hollywood Shuffle was my film school. It's kind of like that's how I learned everything, you know, because when it's your own money, you have a certain level of attention because it's your own money. So I got to make sure, like, hey, man, you don't need no more fried chicken, man. We need that. You know, I paid for it, you know, so I'm always going to make sure that, you know, I learned my manners on Hollywood Shuffle that I still do to this day when I make movies or television shows.
So you're an actor, a director, a writer, a producer. And is it true you are also a tenured professor at USC? Is this true? Are you really a professor? Are you teaching people at this college, this university?
You know what? USC is the #1 film school in the world. And they, you know, it's so funny how things work because they reached out to me and said, would you be interested in being a professor and teaching the knowledge that you've learned as a filmmaker? And I said, here's the thing. When I was a kid, one of my other nicknames was Professor because I you know, they always like, Robert can figure some things out. So they didn't call me Robert, they called me Professor. So I always liked that little title. And then I was like, you know, to be a professor, but I never thought that I, you know, would ever be considered a professor and everything that it takes. And so I am a tenured professor at USC, one of the only directors, one of the only professors of color that teaches directing. And so I love what I do. I love, you know, it's so funny. It's kind of like a full circle moment. You know, there were teachers in my life that motivated me, inspired me, encouraged me to go after my dreams. And now, you know, with this new hat that I'm wearing as professor, I get to encourage and inspire, hopefully, a new generation of filmmakers to go after their dreams. So it's a full circle moment for me giving back.
Are you teaching now? Are you doing online teaching or any of that stuff because of the quarantine?
You know what? I do 2 classes and we've been in the Zoom universe, so I'm very familiar with this whole world. But you know what's interesting is that I was, you know, I was getting them to expand their brains because a lot of students were bummed out because it's like, we're on Zoom. We don't get to meet and touch and talk. And I go, there's so much to be learned about production that you're not missing anything. It just allows you to have more time to understand how, because, you know, at a big university, you know, we've got to move very fast, and there's so much information, and sometimes you don't take time to really drill down on that specific subject long enough because they got to make movies. So this has been a very unique opportunity because my directors, you know, where at first they were like, this is the worst thing ever, they were like, this is the best thing, because we learned so much, even though we were in this Zoom universe, that was so valuable. So, you know, it's been a beautiful time. You know, people say, you know, like, I got to say this to everybody that's out there listening, because some people say, man, quarantine, this is crazy, man. When is it going to come back? Now, I understand the thing of jobs and money and working, but also I always have to look at what is the benefit, what's going on right now. And so there's a part of my brain that goes, because there's not that many cars on the road right now, the air is cleaner. The oceans are cleaner, the water, you know, so nature is getting to heal during this time. And for me, you know, I watch a little bit of the news and then I get off the news, because it can get in your spirit and make you, you know, sad on a lot of levels. And I just think that at this time right now, this is a beautiful time to go inside yourself and to soul search and see what's been working, what hasn't been working, because we all have this pause switch that got hit. And what are you going to do about it? How can you deal with it? And so for me, I've been reading this book. Oh my God, it is the best book. It's called The Clarity Cleanse. I'm going to go where? Oh, it's in the other room. But anyway, it's a book called The Clarity Cleanse. And I've been reading this book, and it is absolutely amazing, because, you know, we can look at this time as an obstacle, or we can look at this time as an opportunity. And I think it's an opportunity to work on yourself, to improve, to re-examine who your friends are, who's not your friend, you know, who you are, who you want to be. And so I just take this as a gift. And
it's made MarshStream.
What a gift. What a gift. What a gift.
It's been amazing. So is it okay if we take a few questions? There's a lot of people watching tonight. Are you okay with a couple of questions?
Sure. Let's open up to questions.
Okay. If you want to ask a question, you want to wave your hand or put something in our chat.
It is a lot of people. Wow.
There's a ton of people. They're loving it.
Hello. Let me see. Oh, I see Michael Houston is waving his hand. Michael, what's your question?
I'm still muted. Oh, wait. No, I'm not. How you doing, brother? Thank you for this opportunity. Me and my brother Marlon, who's also from Chicago, we met you at the show. Phenomenal show. But I'm an actor as well. And I'd like to know, what is your process in terms of getting into character? Because I still find myself, you know, they have, as you said, you are from, you know, not the old school necessarily, but you didn't go to film school. So you learned along the way. So what is your process in terms of getting into character? Let's say something that is outside of your normal self. So like watching you, I can tell you love to have fun, right? And being funny and like dramatic and stuff. I'm the same exact way. But let's say for a more like serious tone or something more dramatic, quote unquote, what is your process?
Well, you know, I mean, first I break down the character and I give the character a backstory. What is the character's backstory? And then I start thinking about the physicality. You know, does the character talk fast? Does the character talk slow? How does the character walk? I will then, you know, maybe go to a thrift store and find a certain jacket or piece of clothing to say the character might feel like this or walk like that. And I'll be in a rehearsal room. Like I'll go to a rehearsal room and I'll be in the rehearsal by myself, and I'll work on different things and technique so I can find the character. Because it's like, if I'm wearing the same shirt that I wear, then I can't really get it, but I got to find stuff that is not necessarily my taste. So as an artist, I go, okay, I'm going to find this character. And it's not about saying, well, I'm just going to do this voice. Nah. How does the character dress? What's the character's education? Did he drop out of school when he was in 5th grade? Did he go all the way to college? Does he have 3 master's degrees? All of those things will give you information about who that character is, and you have to make a choice. So I think part of the detail that you're talking about is really saying, okay, who is the character on paper? Is he married? Is he single? Is he divorced? You know, how does he feel about his mother? Does he, you know, there's a lot of questions, and those questions, because if you have the subtext of what's really going on, the lines don't mean anything. It's really the subtext. So the only thing that I would say to you is that it's about doing the research and then creating the character. Like it goes like, oh, this character wouldn't have a beard or a goatee. This character might be bald headed. Yeah. This character wears like suits and ties. So you start to build the chassis of the character, but that's what I would say.
Gotcha. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
So,
no problem.
So Robert, I think you're doing some more TV projects and different films. And is it true you're directing Don Reed's one-man show East 14th as a concert film?
Yes, I am. Let me say this. Don Reed and I have worked together over the years. When I did my first variety show on HBO, Robert Townsend and his partners in crime, Don was one of the comedians. Also, when I did Hollywood Shuffle, Don was in Hollywood Shuffle. So as we've been doing this one-man show thing together, him producing the show with me, I also went to see his show, and then he was like, Rob, what you think? I want to shoot this. And that started this journey, and we are going to shoot East 14th Street once we come out of this world, and I'm excited. After the show, he was giving me notes on my show, and I was giving him notes on his show. And I am so proud of this, brother. Don, I am so proud of you, and we're going to shoot it.
Yes.
And can I ask you a question, Don? Can I ask you a question? It says, everybody give Don Reed a round of applause, a cyber round of applause for joining the conversation.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Robert. You know, it's been a ride. You know, this solo world can very much be a solo and isolated journey. But the ability to go back and forth the way we have has been unbelievable. And watching the 5 heartbeats, the making of the 5 heartbeats, inspired me so deeply to dig deeper on everything I was doing in terms of like feature perspectives, the concert film, the whole nine. But the inspiration that's hitting me now, if I can go into this a bit, is when you said, hey, if we're going to do, you know, this movie, if we're going to do this concert movie, if you performing it live, then we got to go all the way, like all the way. I was like, okay. So, Stephanie, I know you're still there. Robert started giving me notes and perspective. Now, this is after East 14's already run off Broadway in New York. The New Yorker gave it a blazing review, hot space from the New Yorker, the Harlem News, and it's hard to get the highbrow monocle New Yorker and the Harlem News. Either one of them's going to go, we're not on it, but they were both on it. So I'm thinking it's bulletproof, it's ready, we're ready to go. Robert's like, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. I'm like, oh my God. So he started telling me things to look at to try and make it richer. So one thing he was mentioning was that there are some moments of my stepfather that are very sharp and hard, but I never explained why he behaved that way. And one of the things that Robert said is, what can you do to let us see your stepfather's behavior on a deeper, richer level so we can see why he was a bit of a tyrant, why he was so mean, why he's so sharp. But one thing that my stepfather did a while back, way back when we were kids, we were in that religion. For anybody who doesn't know, my stepfather forced us to be in that religion that rhymes with Jehovah's Witnesses, right? No Christmas, no birthday, knocking on doors, 100 hours a month for real, 3 meetings, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And on top of that, he had all these very OCD ways of way he wanted everything. Everything had to be just so. This had to be there. This had to be, oh, wait, what are you doing? Wait, boob, boob, boob. That's what he called us, boob, boob. Make sure you have everything just right. And so one day my brother was walking through the living room, you know, and he was straightening his golf clubs, going, ha, 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 ha. And he stopped my brother. He said, hey, stop for a second. To my little brother, he's like, I see you carrying your books there. And I see you carrying them kind of every which way. Don't you think it'd look a lot better, just a lot better, if you carried your books in descending order, largest to smallest, away from your body? Large book, medium, small, away from your body. Don't you think that look a lot better? Better do it or you're going to be in huge trouble with me. Donnie, let me talk to you for a second. He said, you know, you got little wolf boy eyebrows. You realize that, right? Your eyebrows are a little wolf man. Sometimes I think you're going to attack. But here's what I need you to do. And you're going to do this every day. You're going to be in huge trouble with me, okay? What I want you to do every day is after you finish brushing your teeth, I want you to rinse off your toothbrush and brush your eyebrows with your toothbrush, okay? And don't go against the grain or you're back to wolf boy, okay? Go this way on this one, that way on that one. Brush those eyebrows and do it every day or you'll be in huge trouble with me. So I'm knocking on doors 100 hours a month. I'm, going to all these meetings, got to get straight A's. And I got to remember to brush my fucking eyebrows every day. So I go to school one day and this one kid, his name was Waddell. And Waddell, the only reason why we hung out is Waddell had more tics and habits than I had. Everybody called me Blinky because I constantly batted my eyes. But Waddell used to jump, blink, and spit. Swear to God, jump, blink, and spit. And he had a lisp. So one day he said, Don, listen. Let me ask you something. Are you going to listen? Are you going to listen? Are you going to listen? Look. Let me ask you something. How come your eyebrows? How come your eyebrows are sky blue? Why are they sky blue? Why are they? In my rush to get out of the house, I didn't completely rinse off my toothbrush, and I gave myself some sky blue, baby blue Eddie Munster eyebrows because it dried like that and for everyone to enjoy. But the thing about it is being able to, Robert, to see where the nuances of that, it breaks down things better. So as you move forward, you see my stepfather one day be downright brutal about some orange pills I dropped on the ground. And he said, you know what? You're in huge trouble, and I'm going to have to beat your ass. You see the humorous side of it building, but now you see how he ticks it. Everything had to be just so. And if it wasn't just so, there was going to be a problem. So then you see this transition from the humorous beats of him being exacting to the dramatic beats of him being exacting, and then being able to see my father, who's a pimp, the outlaw, save me from that level of physical and mental drama. But Robert saw that I needed to go deeper. So now, if you ever saw East 14th before, it's clearly a huge percentage better. In fact, I did the newer version on the 21st and 22nd in San Francisco, and it is the longest standing ovation I ever got in my career. And I've been very blessed to get a lot. But this one was so long, and I tried to stop the people. But now that rich layer that Robert went under the hood and found, pow! Get ready, people. Get ready, because here it comes.
Well, I cannot wait to direct it. I'm just looking forward to it, dude. I appreciate you, and I love you so much because I'm on this journey right now because of you. So
I love you too, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Stephanie, you still there?
I'm here.
Excellent. You guys go from there. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Don. That was amazing. So, and that was incredible directing, Robert. Incredible. Thank you. So should we take just a few more questions before we have to mosey on? It looks like there's a lot of people waving.
Oh, I see. Jolie
Adams. Is that what we're saying?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Hi, my name is Joy Adams. I'm from Chicago. I go to Illinois State, and my question is, what can a student do during this quarantine time for experience in film, like specifically on the behind the scenes, like screenwriting side, because a lot of internships and things I was applying to, like they're canceled for this summer. So do you have any advice on that?
Well, I mean, the thing that I would say is that if you're really hungry for the knowledge, there are so many places now doing all these Zoom sessions everywhere. So I would just simply Google screenwriting and then just see the different. Here's the thing. It's kind of like this. How bad do you want your dream? You know, we all have 24 hours in a day. What do you do with your 24 hours? So right now, if I said, you know, have you looked at screenwriting videos on YouTube and said, what are the screenwriters? Have you Googled who is doing a Zoom session with so-and-so and so-and-so? Right now, there is a very unique opportunity to get all this information. So you could be in class right now with all kinds of writers and filmmakers and learning about your craft. You can also be writing right now and then experimenting to write the idea. You could also reach out to actors and say, hey, I wrote 5 scenes. Do you mind doing a Zoom session and read my scene? You could also storyboard that scene if you're thinking about being a director and say, hey, or contact a friend of yours and say, this is the scene I want to do. So it's kind of like, you know, like right now, everybody's talking about Michael Jordan and his special that, you know, the series that's on ESPN. One of the things that made Michael Jordan one of the greatest basketball players ever was that he knew how to move without the ball. What you're talking about right now is how do you move without the ball? So that if you say, who are the writers that you admire? So if you said, oh, I like Aaron Sorkin, or I like so-and-so and so-and-so. Hey, you know, is there a seminar online that I could watch? Is there something, you know, and, or let me read a screenplay, you know, like right now, if you Googled screenplay to The Godfather, and then you read the screenplay and then watch The Godfather. And then I say, okay, watch The Godfather for entertainment, then watch it with no sound to see what the camera's doing, how the movement is doing, how the wardrobe is, how the, you know, there is a lot of stuff that you can do. I'll tell you a story real quick. When I was a young actor in Chicago, I was really poor. My family was on welfare, and I loved theater so much. I couldn't afford a ticket to the shows that came to the Schubert Theater or the Blackstone Theater in downtown. But here's what I would do. I would get dressed up in my best clothes, and I would take the train down to the theater. I would wait for intermission to happen. I would grab a program off the ground, and then I'd go in when the audience went back in and pretended like I belonged there. And then I watched this one show for a week, just the second half of the show, until I saved enough money to see the show. And then when I finally saw the show, I was like, oh, that's why he did that in the early part. Oh, but I was so hungry to learn about acting and New York actors and theater that nothing was going to stop me. And I did that all the time and watched half the shows that came into New York City. And, you know, even though I saw one half of the show, I could see the level of acting and the quality. So part of the thing for you right now is to take this quarantine time to go inside and really refocus your vision for your dream.
Thank you so much. You're just so inspirational to me. So I really appreciate you answering my question.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we're going a little late, but should we do one more question, Robert?
Sure. Let's go. Let's go. Yes.
Okay. How about 7NR65X? That's him. I don't know. Do you want to? Yes, you.
Oh, what's up? Hey, what's up? My name is Dwayne Doug. I'm from New York. I'm a musician by trade. I'm writing a screenplay, a pilot, TV pilot. How do you get to a place where you know, like where the pilot is ready, or like in the writing process, you feel like, okay, this is solid enough to pitch or to start showing the people and for them to read and things like that?
What I tend to do, you know, like when sometimes people say, man, would you read my script, Rob? Would you read my script? And I go, no. And what I do say is this: how many other people have read your script and given you notes? How, you know, like one of the things I do is that I get a lot of feedback on my scripts before I hand them out. And I check my ego at the door. If somebody says, I don't know why the character walks in the house that way, and when he says that first line, why would he talk to her like that? And sometimes as young writers, people get very defensive. Keenan and I worked on the 5 Heartbeats, and if you watch the documentary, you'll see in the documentary, we did close to 30 drafts of that script.
Wow.
We did 30 drafts. We did table reads again and again and again. And we would listen and we'd go like, man, that don't work. Throw it away. Yeah.
Right.
And we went through it and through it and through it. And by the time we were done, we knew we had something special. So part of the process for you right now is like, can you do a virtual table read of your script? Can you get actors, like I was doing that with my students, where I would say to them, read, hey, Paul, you read the stage directions. Monica, you're playing Elizabeth. Dan, you're going to be David. And the waiter, Raphael, you'll be the waiter. All right, here we go. Let's read.
Gotcha.
We enter the hospital in the middle of the day. We see Monica walking down the hall. Hey, Paul, I didn't see you last week. What are you doing here? Now, if I said to you right now, have you heard anybody read your words?
Yes.
How many times?
Probably only a couple times. Not as much as it would need.
Okay. So because you are saying, hey, I want to get to the next level, you got to step your game up, like right now, to say, hey, you know what? In the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do a table read. I'm going to reach out to actors. I'm going to go through my phone and just see how many people I can get, because everybody's in the house right now. So it's a perfect time to listen to it and then say, give me some real feedback. And don't be defensive. Don't be negative. Don't be, like, oh, I didn't really like that note. Is that how you really feel? It's like, it's like this. Oh, it's not working for you? Oh, man. All right. It's not working. Okay. What would make it work? I mean, it's like, how many people can you reach outside your comfort zone right now and say, hey, who in Berkeley knows somebody that knows somebody, because it's all there, as opposed to I'm going to reach out, because I always get people saying, hey, Robert, I got a script to read. If I read everybody's script, I wouldn't get anything done.
Right, exactly.
So that's why I don't read. But part of the thing that I would say is that who has read it that have given you really great notes? And it's kind of like, can you give it to 20 people, 30 people and say, give me notes, and get a lot of feedback? And some of the stuff you might not want to hear, and some of the stuff you might want to hear. But that's what I would suggest.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Other questions? Any other questions? Oh, I see. Okay. Leilani, is that right?
Yes. Hi.
Are you in the witness protection program?
No. Believe it or not, Leilani is my daughter's name. Somehow I'm in her Gmail. I'm Cherry. Hi.
Okay, pleased to meet you in the witness protection program. I used to do one-person shows until they caught me. I took the money, but it was not mine.
So mine. Let's see if we can see me. Okay, there we go.
Yes.
So I watched the making of the 5 Heartbeats for the first time. Loved it. I've actually watched it 3 times now. I find it interesting that the 2 best scenes were the ones that they didn't support as much. So how did you, beyond what we were able to gather from the film, how did you stay encouraged when you're working with other people and you're passionate about what you're doing and they're not able to see your vision and they're doing a job? How did you stay encouraged and press forward? And how was that for you?
Well, here's the thing. I feel so blessed to be in show business every day. I'm a boy from the west side of Chicago, where a lot of my friends went to jail or are dead now. And so when I think in terms of my journey as an artist, that I am making movies, I am television shows, I get to perform. So as we were making the 5 Heartbeats, I look at every obstacle as an opportunity. So even as they were coming at me, I was still focused. I was like, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. My mantra has always been, there's always another way. there's always another way. So even as they were going, the scene doesn't work, and I'm still going to shoot it. The scene doesn't work, it doesn't work, I'm going to shoot it. And it wasn't until that test screening that my whole life changed. And they go like, wait a minute, this film is one of the highest testing films in Fox's history.
Right.
Then the game changed, but it was me by myself going, it's good, believe me. We don't understand what's going on. Why do you have the guy in the church? I don't get it. You and the sister, it makes no sense. Cut it. No. And then Joe Roth, like I said, he's the head of the studio, but he was the one that says, Townsend, we'll do this one test screening. And if the numbers come the wrong way, we got to cut all that stuff. And I go, you're being fair, you're being honest. Let's do it. And then we had that screening, and I thought I was going to die a horrible death. And those two scenes off the chain. So, I think that, the only thing that I would say to any artist right now, you got to really believe in your vision. You got to believe in you, no matter what people say, because there were so many people that didn't believe in me. And then now, like when I go back to Chicago and I see different people and they go, I always knew you was going to make it, man.
Yeah.
That was the main person that said, you can't be no actor. You can't be no director. What are you talking about? And then now you see a person like, man,
no.
kids, I told you I knew Robert Townsend. I told y'all I knew Robert Townsend. Right. And there's a part of me that wants to say, and your ass told me I wasn't gonna make it.
Right.
But I don't go there. Other questions. Since you guys are hanging out, we might as well, before you go to bed, any final questions? And I see a lot of people, they just have their photos. Anybody else? I see over there. Okay. I see Hildy. Is that Bernice? Yes.
Hi.
Hi, Bernice. Did I call you Bernice or Heidi?
I'm Heidi.
Heidi. Hi, Heidi.
John's friend. Yeah, if I had a twin, you would be my twin.
Oh.
Because I'm so much like you, so much like me. I listen to jazz all the time and I sing, and I'm trying to be inspired by you and Don to be disciplined, to work at it every day and not be distracted by other things. And I feel like I'm getting closer to it after seeing you reflected in me and me reflected in you just as another being. And I'm wondering, do you hang out with the jazz musicians? Because I spent a lot of time hanging out with the jazz musicians, and my show is a lot of jazz. I'm going to be singing a lot of jazz, and so I was wondering, since you're so deeply into it, and I don't necessarily listen to it while I'm writing. It sounds like you do that consciously, but I listen to it while I'm working, and all the rest of the time, and I study it, and I listen to all the same cats. I'm listening to Thelonious Monk all the time, and I sing a lot of Thelonious Monk. So I just really, really connect with a lot of things you're into. So my question is, do you hang out with the cats?
You know what's funny with me is that I used to, but I can't anymore. It's kind of because when I go out, it becomes a lot of conversation, and I can't really just, like, there was a time I could disappear, and now people come like, hey, Rob, let's talk. And I just want to be quiet and watch. And so I can't do that as much.
In terms of going out and listening to a lot of live jazz music.
Yeah, so it becomes a little bit crazier for me. So, because when I go, I just really want to be quiet. And if somebody comes over and wants to talk, then I find myself talking. So, right. I go out a little bit, but for the most part, I'm quiet and listening to my jazz because I'm in the zone right now. And so when you're in the zone,
you don't have enough anonymity when you go out to be able to just go there and be with the music. I understand.
Yeah. So that part of it, but I like I said, I love me some jazz though. That's my stuff.
Me too. Right on.
Thank you.
So how about one more question? What do you think?
Yes, it's fine. I mean, we could. I mean, I see two more questions. We could finish at 9:00 and be done.
Is that okay with everybody? I won't let anybody else do it, but I guess since I'm the boss, I'll do it.
Vicky.
Wait, hi, how are you doing? I met you
I'm
at
very good,
87.
very good.
Good. At the All-Star game up in Seattle, back with you and Denzel Washington at a party. But you also, I'm a doctor up here in the Bay Area, and you also spoke to the Sinclair-Miller Association back. It's been a few years, but you were our guest speaker for the Black doctors. And I was wondering if you're still doing any speaking to various organizations since then.
You know what? I speak all the time. You know, I was the March of Dimes, United Negro College Fund. I speak all the time for different organizations. You know, because they reach out, and it just depends on what the theme is and what it is. You know, but you know, you can tell I love talking. You know, I'm like I love life, so I'm having fun. So you know.
Today is International Jazz Day, and I've seen Don Reed's. I've seen your one-man show too, which I thought was excellent too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Damien, is it Damien? Yes. You're on mute.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
How are you, brother? I enjoyed your show. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I learned so much from your show. And I have to tell you, I can't thank you enough for removing the fear that I have of entering filmmaking without having a prior history. I'm bold enough to try now. Okay. I spent, unfortunately, I spent quite a bit of time away. And in that time, it was easy for me to adopt an attitude, having a life sentence, having an attitude of, this is my life, it is over. This is what my life is going to be. But at some point, my mother's words came back to me, Damien, come home, the son I raised. And I held on to that. And that's what got me past 23 years. And moving from that, I decided that I had stories that I wanted to tell. And I wrote those stories. I never saw myself being an actor. I saw myself telling a story. So I wrote those stories, but it turned out that I wound up being an actor in the process. And I'm telling those stories now. And after hearing you speak of how things fell apart and you put these things together and you learn day by day out of necessity and the motivation of it being your money, that made you work harder. Now it's my money and it's my story. And I'm stepping into that world. And my question is, do I need to find a DP, someone else who is trained more formally in this thing? Or knowing what I know now? Or is it still a valid risk of stepping in and doing it myself? Because all I possess is a couple of Black Magic pocket cinemas. And I feel like I can do it with that. But in your wisdom, your experience, do you think that it is a risk worth taking?
Well, I mean, let me say this. I don't think anything is a risk. I think the more you can assemble professionals that have done it, the better the project's going to be. If everybody, it's what I call the virgin syndrome. If everybody working on the project is a virgin, nobody can help in each other. You know what I'm saying? So that if you're new, so you've never been on a set, so you don't know how it works, you're trying to figure it out. So that's going to slow everything down, as opposed to a DP that goes, lighting, cameras here, set the light over here. Let's move the C-stand over here. Dolly tracks over here. Okay, I need another light over there. Let's go. And action. Or, is this the light you need? You need this. The light goes in the C-stand right here. We're going to open it this way. You sure this is the way it's going to work? You know, if you've got this story, like I felt your passion as you were talking. So I felt your passion, and you say, hey, you know, I had this moment, and then I'm a little afraid, but now I have some confidence. So what you have to work on, in my opinion, is that you've got to pitch yourself to other people. Because if you can, if I said, hey, I'm you, what is your name again? Damian Brown.
Yes,
so
sir.
my name is Damian Brown. I have a compelling story for you. You won't believe the story. I went away for a lot of years, and I hurt my mother. Now I want to give back. I want to tell a story for a lot of brothers that got caught up like me. I want you to volunteer your time to be on my crew. I don't have any money to pay you. I got a lot of heart, and if everything works out, you'll be on my team for life. If you need me to do something, I can drive a car. I'll be your Uber. I'll be whatever. If you'll be my DP, my wardrobe stylist, my production design. Now, as I pitch that to you, you would want to be on my team.
Absolutely.
And so you have the same gift, but what happens a lot of times is that people don't understand that you need a team. It takes a team to make a great movie. It takes a team to make a great television show. You see me on this line, but you also Keenan Ivory Wayans, who wrote the scripts with me. You see my DP, Peter Deming, who now is one of the biggest DPs in Hollywood. You see a cast of young actors, Damon Wayans' first 2 lines. You see all these different people. So part of the thing for you is that it's not about fear. You push your fear down. If you've got a story to tell your story. It's not about, is it good? Is it going to be good? It sucks. It's horrible. It's bad. No, you might not get it right the first draft. It might take you 15, 20 drafts until you figure out what it is. But if you go, I'm scared, what are you scared of? You've been through the fire. This is a piece of cake. You've been through the fire. So if somebody goes, I read your script. What is this? You can't tell me anything about the system. Bullshit. That's his opinion or her opinion. Yeah. Somebody may say, hey, brother, you got something here. This is really good, but you need a little help with your structure. You need, this one scene could work a little bit better if you did. Hey, man, can we do a table read of what you wrote? Hey, man, I'm a writer. I think I could do another pass on it for you. Can I? Man, your words are better than mine. Wow, this is, oh my God. Wow. Oh, you're an acting teacher? You want me to say it again? Mama, I miss you. Hey, Mama, I miss you. Thank you for coming to see me, Ma. I know I messed up. Tell my son I said hi. Tell him I said hi. What's the story? Where are we going? How deep do you want to go? How far do you want to go? How you put your foot on the pedal. Right now is the time. Put your foot on the gas pedal. Drive the damn car. Go for it. It's nothing but fear is nothing but an emotion. It's a lie. Everybody on this Zoom world can touch the brass ring. It's just how bad do you want your dream? Well, I got to watch the news and see what's happening in the world for 8 hours a day. No, you ain't. You can watch it for an hour, get all the news, get the body count, and pray for everybody that's losing somebody right now and stay focused. What are you willing to give up to get your dream? That's the real conversation, dude. What are you willing to give up? Well, I don't have money. It's not about money. Hollywood Shuffle, I had no real money. I just had the desire and the passion that you feel coming through this Zoom call. And that's what propelled everything. Right now, you're feeling my energy. And you go like, oh, this brother has a lot of energy. If Stephanie said, hey, I want you to do this. Don said, hey, I said, yes. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to give you 1,000% of me. So some of you will be motivated to say, I really need to step up my game. Because you can lie to yourself, but I'm not, I do this for real. So you can lie to yourself. I'm like, no. If you're really going to do this, then do it. Like Nike says, just do it. Other questions? Yes. I wanted somebody that hasn't gone before. I see Michael, but if nobody else raises their hand, the woman in the witness protection program, we talked to her. Anybody else? Anybody else going once, going twice? Then I guess we're going to go back to Michael for the last question. Yes, Michael.
Thank you, brother. So for the last question, what advice would you give, or if you can share your experience with writing, directing, and starring in your own films, and how to balance that? Because I can see myself doing that very much so. And I think my challenge is that my mind is everywhere. And especially like I started off technically, I started off with writing first before I even knew what acting was. And then I went to acting school and learned about acting, and I can see myself doing all, but I do have an issue with being split focus.
Mm-hmm.
And since you've done it, what did you find in yourself after all these years to help center yourself and balance with writing and then, directing and also acting?
Well, the thing that I would say is that it's all stages. It's what we call the salami theory. A piece of salami is like this. You only cut off one piece at a time. You don't go, eat the salami. It's one piece at a time. So you got to write the script first. Script's got to be good. So you write the script, write the script. Then I put on my director's cap. So I got to scout locations. I got to cast a movie. I got to put my crew together. So I prep my movie like nobody's business. I do floor plans, so I know where everybody's going to be in the scene. There's a woman standing behind me over here. There's an extra that's going to cross in front of me. The crane's going to come this way and it's going to come around. I do all of that in advance. So I know where the camera is, where the extras are, what it looks like, what it smells like, what props are on the table, what props aren't on the table, everything. Then once I've done all of that, the actor side, I'm a fool naturally. So let's do it. I know my lines, and here we go, and action. What are you doing here? You ain't got my money? He ain't got my money. No, man. Action, cut. I know what I'm doing because I've laid everything out. So at that point, I've written the script. I'm going through my different drafts. The script is really good. Now, I can't do the script and be directing because I need the script. And then I got to be prepared to direct rather than like, okay, I'm an actor. What are we doing with the camera? I don't know. I'm in actor mode, No, I got to know where the camera is. I got to know where everything is going to be. So it's the stages. So when you say I'm all over the place, you can't start doing a movie if you only got 5 pages of a script. So first you got to focus to write. He comes into the house. Then we see Michael. Michael says, hey, how are you? And he says, man, your sister is fine. Okay, and you write it. Then it's all written. And then you go, okay, let's cast the fine sister. Okay, I'm going to be playing Michael because I am Michael. And then you put it all together. Then once you have everything prepped and ready and it's time to act, if you've written a character for yourself, you should know who that character is. Yeah. So if you get on set and go like, who am I playing today? Wait a minute, you wrote the shit. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Hey, I'm gonna throw the ball back to Stephanie. Thank you so much for this time and having me in this Zoom world. I love the Marsh. I love the Marsh. I gave birth to my baby there, Mr. Don Reed. I love you. Thank you again for encouraging me, inspiring me to get my butt back on stage. I can't wait for this to be over so I can get back on stage again. Stephanie, love you that now you've become a streaming service overnight. Netflix better watch their freaking back because Stephanie and the Marsh is coming for your ass.
I agree. You got it. Robert, go. Yes. No, you talk. Finish.
No, all I wanted to say was I really appreciate everything you're doing. this is beyond the Marsh, because what you're doing is planting beautiful seeds for artists to grow. Right now, you're just watering all these, you know, folks that are showing up on these Zoom sessions with you, and just a lot of love for you. Because like I said, you know, you were watering me as I, you know, you didn't know what my one-man show was going to be. You took Don's word. I came up, you know, you go like, I know he's a filmmaker. I know he can write, direct, produce, but can he perform? Can he do a one-man show? And you guys roll the dice with me. And so I will forever be in debt to you. I appreciate you so much. So much.
Well, thank you, Robert. This was fantastic. It was wonderful. What a big heart you have. Thank you. And we're going to try something, but I just want to say a couple things first. We're going to try everybody to actually unmute them, but hold on for a second. I also want to say one thing. Damien, I don't know if you're in the area, but we right now, although it's writing, we have a formerly incarcerated performer project going on at the Marsh right now. If you're interested, and we're going to do a whole festival or whatever it is based on this. But I just want to let you know that. I also wanted to let you all know that next week we have Tina D'Elia going to be interviewed, and the following week we have Marga Gomez. So I hope you'll keep coming back to our streams and watch all our stuff that we're doing, and that you consider making a donation to us in the tip jar. And most of all, I want to thank you so much, Robert, and for Don joining us and supporting and making this all happen. And is it possible for us to unmute everyone and have a Zoom clapperini, whatever we need? Let's try it.
Hey.
Standing ovation.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Stay healthy.
Stephanie.
Thank you.